Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Message of Hope. And today I'm with Sheela Masand, who is also a coach, a life coach, a business coach, a good person to chat if you have a phone. Welcome, Sheila.
Thanks, Martina. Yeah, okay. Whatever you want me to be, coach. I'll fit. I'll put any hat on. I just love helping people, so it doesn't matter.
And she's almost an author. Hey.
Oh.
And I'm going to ask you the same question that I've been asking everyone so far. Is all this having this understanding, the way human work, how does that help you navigate the lockdown, the COVID, the stress events, whatever shows up in your life?
Hmm. Well, I've watched a couple of these that you've done with other people, and I love how we all see it differently, right? And as I was reflecting on the question, it was like, well, there's so much, in so many ways. As I was thinking about it, it's like, oh, and that and that. So really, one of the most important things, I think, and I don't know if there's any order, but one of them is this idea of the notion of resilience, as it's called. So for me, that's knowing I'm okay, whatever. I mean, that's been huge for me. If you'd have asked me a few years ago, I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known that in my bones. I wouldn't have known that in my heart, that whatever happens, I'm okay. And so to know that, it's like, it doesn't matter what situation we're in. Just knowing that I'm like a weeble that wobbles but doesn't fall down. That those toys that
Yeah.
weebles wobble but they never fall down. Feels like that. It's like, well, I wobble, I wobble, but I know I'm always going to come back to center. I know now. So, like as I say, a few years ago, I didn't know that. I thought that if something I was feeling with, if I was anxious or if I was down or if I was upset or worried, which a lot of people are now at the moment. There's a lot of people in fear and worry about the COVID itself, and a lot of people I speak to about finances. What's happening, especially where I live in Spain. It's like, what's happening in this country? People are getting poorer and poorer, and so there's a lot of fear around. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of worry about the future, and for me, it's not that I don't feel fear. It's not that I don't get anxious myself or get worried sometimes, but I know that when that happens, it's transitory. And I know that it's going to pass. So that's one of the other things that, understanding the transitory nature of thought, if you like, that it's always got to change. And I didn't know that either before. I used to get really busy trying to change thought, because I thought there was something wrong with me. So, it was really seductive, if you like. It was very seductive to be told that, well, if you change your thoughts, change your life. Now, yeah, I see how that can work for people, because that is kind of what happens when our thoughts change. We feel differently, because thought and feeling go together hand in hand. So obviously, if our thoughts change, our feeling state changes, and when our feeling state changes, we have a whole different experience of life. So that definitely is the way it works. But to go in and try and change stuff and keep working on stuff and keep looking at stuff and keep working on my fear and my limiting belief about something or whatever it was that I was doing, it was exhausting, to be honest. It was a lot of hard work.
Yeah,
You're nodding. You're like, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, what's an insight is instant. No, you change. You don't have to work at it anymore.
Yeah.
But with like NLP, probably that's what you're talking about, right? And no, it's always a battle. You always have to redo it and redo it. And an insight changes everything.
Something changes, and an insight is so powerful that it changes not only the thing that perhaps we were looking at, but it can have knock-on effects for so many different parts of our lives that we're not even aware of. And that's kind of what happens to me, I find, is I'm not one of these people that has a massive, well, you know, there's an interesting belief, isn't it? I'm not one of those people that has one of these mind-blowing insights. I've had a couple, I have to say, but mine seem to be like integral. You know, I can look back, and that's what I'm saying to you now. Now I realise, as I was reflecting on this, it's like, you know, how do I see my situation now? And it really is this idea of, not even idea, notion or fact of, thought is transitory, and I'm not trying to fix it anymore. So that, I mean, that's a huge, it's just so time saving. You know, it takes a lot of time not having to keep looking at it and wondering about it, and actually while I was doing that, I was actually making it stay around much longer than it needed to. So this understanding of it being transitory is just so much easier. It's just like, well, I know it'll change. I know it'll change, so I don't need to get into any details about it. And I also know that, and this is the piece about resilience, I think, as well, where it ties in, is like, I'm not my thinking. Now that was a really big one for me as well. It's like, so I might have some fearful thinking, but I'm not a fearful person. You know, I might have some anxious thinking, but I'm not an anxious person. So I'm not like fixing myself into this, I'm one of these people, I'm one of those people. And I hear that a lot at the moment, that people, you know, seem to get stuck with labels in a way. It's like, yeah, so I'm always angry, or I'm always this, or I'm always that. It's like, no, you're not. You know, it might feel like that, but to be able to see the health in other people, that's really big as well. You know, to see that no matter what's happening for them on the surface, what looks like it's happening on the surface, they're still okay, because that's transitory thought. I know that's transitory thought. So, you know, family members and clients and friends can tell me a story about, and I don't mean to belittle it, but they tell me what's happening in their life. But on some level, I see that that's the reality that they're living in right now. But that doesn't mean that's going to look like that tomorrow or the next day or in 5 minutes' time. So it stops me feeling as well like I have to go in and rescue people. You know, I used to think I needed to, yeah, it was as a good friend, or as a mom, or as a sister, or as a, you know, as the coach. That was, you know, that's been really big, because it, as I said earlier, you know, at the beginning, I just love to help people, and I do, but that can get in the way sometimes, because I feel like I've got to get in there and start, you know, really doing things for people and giving them a good advice. And actually, you know, coming across the 3 principles is really, you know, this inside out understanding has really helped me see that we're all sitting in our own health, but for the thinking that we have in the moment that tells us otherwise. And so when that settles down, we come back to that place of clarity, place of peace, just knowing all's well in the world, if you like, and that from that place we make wiser decisions, and we can see clearer, and we're in a different state of mind. So we are going to have a better idea of what, you know, how things go. And I think that also is for me as well, it's about, people talk about being in the present moment. That's what that is for me as well. It's like not listening to stuff that's taking me into the future, thinking that's taking me into the future, or thinking that's taking me into the past. Just remembering that I don't have to take any notice of that, and that brings me back to the present moment. And from when you're in the present moment, that's all there is, right? There's nothing to worry about. If we know it's like that, all there is this present moment. What's the point of worrying about tomorrow or the next day or next year? And we've no idea actually what's coming. We just think we do. We live in this kind of this false sense of certainty that makes us feel good, because we like to think we know what's going to happen. But actually, in reality, none of us know. You know, this idea of finances, I was thinking about that today as well, you know, and the stock market, you know, will, you know, lots of people are saying there's going to be this global recession soon. Very soon there's going to be a global recession. The stock market's going to crash, this is going to happen, the other's going to happen, or, you know, I'm talking about the financial world. Well, if we really, really knew what was going to happen, we'd all hedge our bets, and we'd all be doing on the stock market, we'd be very, very rich, right? You know, we'd be all, if that was definitely going to happen, like everybody says, it's everybody, most people are saying it's definitely going to happen. Well, we could all go bet on the certain stocks that are going to go crash down in the way that, you know, it's all going to work out, but we don't actually really know. We just all like to think that we know, and then we like to follow people and experts that think they know and are telling us based on past experience, this is what we know, but we can't guarantee it. But this, you know, so you get all these warnings on these sites, you know, you don't base this what's going to happen on past, you know, past not experience, can't think of the word, but what's happened in the past on the stock market, for example. But and it's kind of like that with life, right? We're bringing stuff from the past and making it as if it's stuck in, I don't know, made of something very solid, and now we can predict the future from what's happened in the past, and that's why we keep living the same experience day after day, because we keep bringing that forward with us. So being in the present moment for me is about being in the I don't know, just being okay with being in I don't know, and that's another big thing, you know, for me. I'm not I'm not an expert on it by any means, because I do have a tendency to want to know, you know, like most people, I think. but I'm very grateful that having some glimpse of actually the place of power, if you like, the place of the point of power is in the unknown, is in the what we don't know yet, because that's where all the stuff, you know, all fresh ideas and fresh creativity and fresh everything comes from. We can't hear it when we're sitting in a busy mind of what we know. And so yeah, that's been really huge for me recently. I've been running some games, called the well-being game and a money game, and helping people really get into a state of wondering about what else is possible, and noticing that when we're playing the game, it doesn't matter how many times I repeat the mantra of let go of what you think you know. You know, it's so difficult for us. It's just so ingrained in us to fall back into what we know. You know, we spend an hour playing this game, and people, you know, immediately it's like yeah, but you know, keep coming back to what they know, and I'm like, okay. So it's been a real eye-opener for me, just to realize how much I live in what I know, and how much I'm not allowing the fresh creativity through, which is part of the, you know, for me, that's part of living in these uncertain times. I just see that we've all got to move with these new times. I don't think we're going back to where we were before, and I think it requires tons of innovation and creativity, and I'm really clear on that is available to us it's available to us all the time. So for me, that feels really hopeful. You know, I don't feel like a lot of people I hear talk about, and in the newspapers and the news, I don't watch them, but people relay stuff to me, particularly elderly parents who read the paper, you know, the newspapers every day and tell me what's in them. Like, there's no jobs, what are people going to do, the young people of today? And I just keep saying, you know, we've got to get creative. You know, youngsters have got to, we can't think about, you know, jobs for life or having a job for years on end. I don't think that's the society that's coming up for us. It's already changing. I think we've got to really look to that source of creativity and you know, knowing we're okay, and there are answers and solutions for us. There are. I'm going to stop.
It's beautiful. And you said why we come back is, I think we're just creature of habits. No, our brain
Absolutely.
is very lazy. Now it has the neurons that wires together, so it takes the well-worn path in a sense. But being in the unknown, when you said, is everything is open.
Yeah. And but isn't that the beauty of an insight, I think, as well? That you know, I know with the neuroscience, I'm not big on neuroscience, but when you mentioned about the well-worn path, I know that's part of it. But my understanding is an insight can just suddenly change all that, and it's like it's like, oh, well, what happened to that neural pathway? I don't know. I don't understand it all. I don't know how it works, but somehow it does. Because people do, for example, you know, I used to bite my nails. And at the times I tried to stop biting my nails, and, you know, I used to paint stuff on. And when I was a kid, I used to have all this horrible stuff painted on, and, you know, to stop me, but it didn't stop me. Because when, I don't know, when you want something, and you go through whatever it takes to get it for some reason. But somewhere along the line, and I have no idea how it happened, one day I realised I wasn't biting my nails anymore. As an adult, I think I'd had children by that time even. But somewhere along the line, something happened. But I don't remember having this massive insight or anything. I just remember noticing, well, my nails have grown, and I've not been putting them in my mouth anymore. You know, they've not been biting them down to where they bleed, literally. You know, how did that happen? I've no idea. And I haven't gone back to biting them again ever. So that it's just curious, isn't it, that things do change, and yet we don't have to be involved consciously in those, you know, in these things that change. So, you know, we call them insights, but they can be. I definitely like that. For example, they've got to be invisible. You know, just looking back, it's an incremental change that's happened over time, or something's happening you don't even notice. That's the amazing thing about the system, right? That change happens, we're not making it happen, and yet we think we are.
And I think the vast majority of people that I've interviewed or that I know through all the 3Ps groups that we're in, I think the vast majority of people just drip, 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 drip.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they notice, oh, my life just changed. And now without, like you said, for your nails. I think very few people at the Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think very few people, some does happen, but I think most people is drip, 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 drip. And then somebody mentions something to you, says, oh, yeah, it's true. I'm not like this anymore. Oh, and no, and you have a new normal.
Yeah. But it just shows, I mean, I think it's just great evidence of it. It you know, change happens, but it you know, I was trying to change the behavior, or my mom, I remember, you know, trying to change the behavior by painting stuff on, or telling, and wearing gloves. That was another strategy. So that, but unless it happens internally through, you know, it begins with thought, right? But I don't, as I say, don't even know how it happened. Maybe I just, as a mom, I just didn't have time to do it anymore. I can't remember. Somewhere it's probably, but that happens too, right? You just get distracted with life, and something else becomes more important. You stop even thinking about doing that thing, and suddenly, before you know it, you're not doing it anymore. I'm just fascinated by the whole thing. But yeah, I you know, the important piece for me is knowing this resilience, is knowing that we're okay, whatever, and everybody's sitting in it, not just me. Like knowing my kids, who are not kids anymore, but they'll always be my kids, you know, knowing that they're okay, you know, going through this. They're both self-employed and got their own businesses, and of course the lockdown, and it affected them greatly, but I know that they'll be fine. And just watching them being so creative is so heartwarming, to see that how innovative they are, and just coming up with fresh ideas of how to keep going, keep the doors open, basically, you know, to keep their businesses going. It's just amazing. It's wonderful to watch. And it's not just my daughters, of course, it's happening to everybody. And it's like, wow, we're just we're creative beings. And yet we forget it so much of the time, unfortunately. It's when we get anxious and fearful and we can't see it. But yeah, it's wonderful to know that.
Thank you, Sheela. And if
Thank
people
you for
want to find you, where can they find you?
Well, I have a website, believe it or not, and it's called my name, sheelamasand.com, SheelaMasand.com. So that's my website. You can find me there. That's basically about my business coaching, and I'm on Facebook as well. So if anybody wanted to message me, they can message me via Facebook. Yeah, thank you, and thank you for inviting me, Martine. It's been lovely. It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, and lovely for you to participate in a little project. Bye, everyone. See you next time.
Bye bye.